Hello, this is Mike Began, aka Barely Normal. Taebyn and I have had a lot of fun on this show since we started, and we try to keep the show positive and lighthearted, which is very important these days. June is Pride Month here in the United States, a time when the LGBTQ+ community remembers the fight for equality for our members. But today there is another, similar fight for equality raging around the globe, one that should not and cannot be ignored. The furry fandom has always had a very strong LGBTQ+ presence, and while many various pride festivals and parades have been canceled due to the pandemic, the LGBTQ+ furries should stand in solidarity with those continuing to fight against injustice. There are many protests continuing as we record this episode, and so many people in furs fighting against injustice and inequality. The fight against injustice will never be over until all people in furs can live equally and safely in all our communities. And while many LGBTQ+ folks may not be able to celebrate this year, we are reminded that the Stonewall protests of 1969 are a past echo of the same injustices systematically being visited upon the black communities today. We as a fandom, a community, and citizens should stand together in unity and support the fight against injustice. You can help through getting out and joining the fight, or if you can't get out and join the fight, perhaps in some small way through contributions to organizations that need financial support. Organizations in need include the Trevor Project, the George Floyd Memorial Fund, Minnesota Freedom Fund, Reclaim the Block, Black Lives Matter, Black Vision Collective, Campaign Zero, the Innocence Project, Run with Maud, Justice for Breonna, Grassroots Law Project. These are just a few of the many organizations that could use your help, volunteer time, or financial donations. There are many others internationally, nationally, and local to you. Taebyn and I stand in solidarity for equality for all. Thank you. And now I invite you to enjoy our show. This is Barely Furcasting, featuring Taebyn, an Injured Nerves audio production. All right. Well, welcome, one and all, or two or three or four or five, or however many people listen to our podcast now.
At least one, I think.
At least one. I am Barely Normal, and you are?
My name is Taebyn. I'm a pup, bark bark, and welcome to the show.
So let's just start off with what everybody's interested to know about the tail. Did we catch the tail this week?
Yes, so you might remember last week I mentioned I held it in my mouth for just a few seconds before, I tripped over my pawsies, and so it kind of lost it then. But I did it, and so I've been practicing more, and I've caught it a few more times, and held on to it for a few more seconds each time. I'm getting better at not tripping over pawsies. I'm getting a little bit more flowy in the wind as I run. I'm still using the same technique where I chase clockwise, kind of in an up and down fashion. So I've got a 3D aspect to it, and I'm getting a little more elegant in my jumping, and the wind goes through the fur and the fluff, and I think it's becoming a pretty nice little dance I'm having with my tail, and it's becoming productive. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this takes me in the future.
It's a dancing tail.
The tail of the dancing tail. It never fails to dance with their tail or something.
Okay, swell. I also understand that you have a new song.
I do. So you might remember, of course you remember, the Crispy Chicken Nummy Tots song came about, and for our one, or I think there's two listeners now. In case you haven't seen it, there's the Crispy Chicken Nummy Tots video. There's one, and then there's a sequel on my YouTube. Anyway, where it came from was after dinner, for example, I will typically sing about my dinner because it was nummy or something like that. And so that's actually where Crispy Chicken Nummy Tots came from. And so another one came up the other day, and here's how it goes. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So there's a few verses, and it goes like this. Tummy is a tum. Tummy is a tum. Tummy, 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 tummy is a tum. Kitty is a kit. Kitty is a kit. Kitty, 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 kitty is a kit. Puppy is a pup. Puppy is a pup. Puppy, 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 puppy is a pup. And then the last verse actually goes, Foxy is a fox. Foxy is a fox. Foxy, 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 foxy is a fox. So I tweeted all this, and then some fur commented on the kitty is a kit verse. Because you see what I did when I tweeted this verse, I tweeted each verse separately in separate tweets.
Uh-huh.
And on the kitty is a kit tweet, a fur commented and said that Actually, young foxes are known as kits.
Ah,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like mind blown. So now I have version 2 of the fourth verse, which goes, Foxy is a kit. Foxy is a kit. Foxy, 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 Foxy is a kit. And that's the Tummy is a Tum song.
okay. I really don't know where to go with that, but I'm already envisioning how to make this into a video.
Good, good. For future reference, spoiler alert, someday there'll be a video about the Tummy Tum song.
Well, we hope
We
there will
hope
be a
so.
video. Yes, so many good ideas come and go when we make videos.
It's true.
Yeah,
And sometimes they go more than they come. Right.
absolutely. So, have you been watching any television or any good movies this week?
So let's see, movies. There haven't been any movies recently. You might remember last week I mentioned I had been watching Big Bang Theory over again
Right.
as I started over season one. And usually, what I do when I watch TV shows that have episodes is I'll watch a season, then I'll move to another show and watch a season. Then, so I'll rotate and eventually I'll get to the next season of whatever I was watching. So the Big Bang Theory, I finished season one, and so that's on the back burner. It'll rotate, and so now I've rotated back to Mike and Molly, their recent season. So have you heard
Oh,
of this show called Mike and Molly?
I have. I have. I watched it when it first came out, and then I never, and it didn't grab me.
It took a little bit. Eventually, it grabbed me. The last season, the previous season, they're on a new season now, and that's what I've started watching. But the previous season ended up being pretty good. I think definitely it's not necessarily for everyone. Anyway, so I started watching that new season. The first episode was ho hum. The second episode, which I just watched today, actually, it was pretty good. So we'll see. It's one of those shows that are, in my opinion, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So far, it's keeping my interests. How about you, Barely?
I started watching on Netflix the show called Space Force.
Space Force? Oh, I saw an ad for that. I was curious. I almost started watching that the other week, but I didn't. So tell me about it.
It's pretty good. Interestingly enough, Netflix actually copyrighted the name Space Force before the United States government decided to call the newest branch of the
Really?
military the Space Force.
Wow.
It's an interesting show. Steve Carell is the lead. It's really kind of funny, so you should watch that. So I was looking up some other type of furry centric shows,
Uh-huh.
trying to find other shows. And of course, we've talked about Beastars, we've talked about Brand New Animal,
Mhm.
and there's a third show out there called Gleipnir.
Leighton here. Really?
Gleipnir. It sounds very German.
It does sound very German.
Yeah, and it kind of qualifies as a furry show because what it does is the main character goes into and turns into a super powered fursuiter that fights monsters in the typical like Japanese mascot type thing.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of the trio of Beastars, Brand New Animals, and Gleipnir. So it
Okay.
might be worth watching. Who knows? Who
Okay.
knows? Who knows?
No,
Yeah.
I'll check it
Uh,
out. And I remember back to Space Force, just so you can confirm or deny. I heard or I read that it's like an in-space version of The Office.
Ish, yes. It's not
Okay.
in space. It takes place on American soil,
Okay.
but it's kind of like The Office. Yes. Yes, very
Okay.
much so.
Well, I like The Office, so I'll check it out.
What are you planning on doing with summer coming around the corner?
Well, I plan on still working on my tail, perfecting that technique. I think maybe I'll try some new stuff. Like you remember, I started out with counterclockwise and that wasn't working, and then this clockwise has helped me out a lot. So maybe I use what I've learned from the clockwise and apply to counterclockwise. So I'm going to work on that this summer. I don't know. I'll run around the house a little bit. I've got coffee table. I have to run around sometimes. Just I don't want to leave coffee table out. I got some plants I gotta hug, so I think I'll be doing that a little bit. I think it'll be a busy summer, actually.
Sounds like you have a very busy summer planned.
Yeah.
So,
What are you up
uh,
to this summer?
well, I'm planning on doing some traveling. I do want to go visit my sister in Wisconsin and visit my parents in Tennessee. One might be in the summer, one might be in the fall. With the 4th of July being canceled. Well, the 4th of July wasn't canceled. It will still happen. It's not like we're going to go July 3rd, July 5th, but the fireworks have been canceled, so I don't have any fireworks to do. So I might actually take a relaxing long weekend over the 4th of July this year for a change.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice. It would be nice. Oh, guess what?
What?
Our guest has arrived.
Oh, hey, wonderful.
Yeah, that's Blue Hasia. Let's jump in and talk with Blue, and then we'll come back and talk about some more stuff.
I'm excited. Wag, wag, wag.
Well, we are here today with Blue Blue
Blue
what?
Hasia.
Blue Hasia. We are here today speaking with Blue Hasia.
Blue
Hello.
And
Hasia.
I actually get mistaken as a girl quite often because the A at the end of the Hasia is it's more common for females.
oh,
Oh,
okay.
well.
Gotcha. Well, Taebyn, would you like
Hi.
to run into some questions with Blue? Shall we call you just Blue for the interview?
Blue is perfectly fine.
Awesome.
Though
Okay.
sometimes because Blue is somewhat of a common name, then my friends just will say Hasia.
Okay.
That way we
All right.
know which Blue we're actually talking to.
Which blue?
Well, we know that there's only 3 of us and 2 of us are not named Blue, so
I don't have to ask you my first question because I already know. We already covered it. Your name is Blue Hasia. Did I do that
Correct.
right?
Correct.
That was so exciting. I am wagging all over the place right now. Oh my
I'll
lord.
have, I'll have to bring you a doggy treat.
Oh, please do. Because I'm a pup and I like little puppy treats. So tell us about the Blue Hasia brand. I'm just going to call you Blue. So tell us about the Blue brand of photography. What got you into it?
Well, it's what got me into photography is I got a camera like when I was a little kid, a DSLR film-based camera, and I was like
Oh.
always the person that always had the camera at all the family gatherings, and I always loved doing it. I mean, like that kid that always runs around with the camera just taking photos all the time.
Oh, you were one of those.
My 18th birthday, I remember that I actually got my first digital camera. It was a Canon 20D, and I actually had a blast with that because now I didn't have to pay for film processing anymore.
Yeah, indeed. Those days.
Oh God, yeah, I spent so much money on film processing. I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't really mess around back then with like the manual. I just shot everything in auto. Just had fun with it. I knew Photoshop back then too, and I just basically just had fun with it. I had no really set path.
Uh-huh.
I didn't really have a passion, like I wouldn't say 100% passion because I didn't really have a goal in mind back then. And then in 2014, I wanted to get back into it. So that's when I got myself a 70D.
Oh.
And the technologies from a 20D to 70 just blew me away out of the waters.
Well, that was how many years then? 3 years between?
That was okay. I got my 20D when I was 18. I got my 70D when I was 30.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's a big difference in technology.
And yeah, it was just light and day what I could do with the difference. And I started learning Photoshop a lot more then. Even then, this was I was just new to the furry fandom. When I got that 70D, I was still just kind of like a lurker talking in chat rooms. I haven't been to a furry con yet. So I kind of like lost my interest again with the photography. But then, I started going to furry cons. I didn't bring my cameras. It wasn't until 2017 that I actually brought my cameras out again to a furry
Okay.
con. And that's kind of like where I found my spark, my passion. Because I would take photos back in the days of people, and they were like, oh, that's a nice photo. Okay, that's nice. That was basically it. But whenever you take a photo of a fursuiter, they're just overjoyed and they just thank you and they love you. It really made me feel good. It's just like I really felt happy that I was able to get them something that they were truly overjoyed for. And so that's when I really started getting back into it again. And I got myself the very next year, like probably like 5 months later, my 80D, and it just kind of bloomed from there.
And here you are.
When I look back from my first photos I took in 2017 of fursuiters and now in 2020, it's just night and day, just 3 years difference of just taking photos
Yeah.
nonstop. It's just night and day.
You've learned a lot just by doing it, of course.
It's just like what the artists say for drawing, you just practice, practice, practice.
So do you own or rent your own your equipment?
As I said, I own myself a 70D and 80D along with 3 lenses for them, a prime 60, a wide angle lens, and a standard, think like a 25 to 55 zoom. They're all great cameras, all great glass, but none of them are pro. They're both crop sensors. So starting in 2019, I actually started renting. And, talking about the leap from my 20D to the 70D, this professional one I rented, which was the Canon EOS R, I like to tell my friends it's like the gift from heaven. The quality, the power, the professional, I'm oogling, I drool over it. So I've been renting now for most of the conventions I go to.
Is that the one you brought to FC this year when you did the photo shoot?
Yeah, so that was a rental I had.
And those pictures came out great, I remember.
That's my biggest reward is when my fursuiters are happy.
When it actually like turns out great. Yeah. And someone tells you, hey, they turned out great. Definitely.
That's like the biggest tip. You can just send them a message and just say, no, thank you so much. Because it helps push them more to keep on doing what they do.
So what advice then would you give a fur that wanted to start doing furry photography?
I would definitely say if they really, really want to get into it, invest in either an entry-level DLSR or a mid-level DLSR and get themselves like a prime 50 for good portraits. And also, you got to find like what your passion is. Because a lot of times, for me, I found it as to be fursuiters, but fursuiters are not always, you can't always have one around.
Right. It's true. As much as you'd like to.
You just got to find something you're passionate about, and because without that passion to drive you to take a photo, it's really hard to keep yourself going.
So how can folks find you and or your work? Do you have any social media or any places you like to send people?
Well, on my Twitter, there are daily photos tweeted by my bot that will show the photos I've taken in the past.
Wait a minute. Wait. You said your Twitter on your butt?
My bot. I have a bot for my Twitter.
Oh, bot. Okay.
My Twitter is Blue Hasia, and daily photos do get posted there of fursuiters.
You told us before, but just to remind us, how do you spell that again?
That is Hasia.
Right. And it's one word, Blue Hasia.
One word, Blue Hasia. And my full gallery is bluehasia.smugmug. So if you want to see everything, I have a smug mug.
I'll have to check that out. I didn't know that, so I'll have to go check that out. Kind of moving a little bit away from the photography, you host some events. Could you tell us about those?
Yeah, so I started I think late 2017. I just started doing like bull meets for fursuiters. Then I went to San Francisco because I got invited to be a photographer for the San Francisco cable car rides. And you always got to say cable car rides because if you say trolley, they enjoy their cable cars. That's what San Francisco is well known. Just the energy from that kind of event just blew me away because at FurCons, you're surrounded by fellow fursuiters and everyone's just like, okay, we got fursuiter here, fursuiter there. But a cable car ride, we went out to public and the energy, just the public was just so amazed seeing these trolleys of fursuiters just going through the city. People are waving. They were just, the energy was just amazing. So I was like, I got to do this in my hometown. I contacted a trolley company. I advertised for the tickets, and the first one was a huge success of sellout. People wanted me to keep doing that. I did another one, sold out a double trolley this time. And it was about this time I was like, I got a lot of things going through my accounts. I better try to make this thing a little more official. So that's when I actually formed Coastal Furry Events. I actually made it like an official business of hosting furry events.
That's more than awesome. That's like really pawsome. Is that the one with Zarafa or is he somewhere else?
Zarafa and Cat Prowler, they do the San Francisco cable car rides. I do the Santa Barbara trolley ride. See, we have trolleys in Santa Barbara and they have cable cars.
I see. Okay, got it.
What's the difference between a trolley and a cable car?
Nothing. Just location. Don't tell Zarafa I said that or he'll kill me. Yeah, it went on from there. At Anthrocon, I hosted a trolley ride there. It's expanded now. I am hosting miniature fursuiting golf events, and the first one was in Roseville outside of Sacramento, and that was a huge success. Over 40 fursuiters went to that.
That's really cool. And so is that like a annual thing or like a monthly thing that you're doing?
That is going to be definitely an annual thing every February for the people near Sacramento.
Yeah, I guess monthly, that would be a lot to do every single month.
Yeah, one thing I learned through my experience is because I try to do a trolley ride twice a year, I think just people get a little too burned out if like the same event happens too often.
At cons, you mentioned cons before, so you do cons, and do you ever host any panels at cons?
I do. At Further Confusion, I have hosted now for 3 times a fursuit themed photo shoot, which has always been a real blast and an extreme challenge to do because I practice at home my fursuit themed photo shoots. Like one year it was like gangsters where I had fursuiters at a table with some fake money and a gun, fake gun, of course.
I hope
and
so.
try to make them look like, a mafia boss. But every year it's like I get just blown away just because it's the biggest complexity is the variety of fursuiters that just come in through the door. And you get tall ones, short ones, and trying to make a stage that can fit everyone to fit. It is a huge challenge to do that.
Which makes it, I bet it feel more rewarding afterwards to think, okay, I did that. That was great.
Oh, then also at PawCon, I got to be the official photographer. Like these, you see the official photo booth is a lot easier to do because I just set up a backdrop for the fursuiters.
Neat. So how and when did you become a blue dragon?
It was an old MMORPG that I played in 2003. Some people out there know it. It's called Horizons Empire of Istaria. It's kind of a fun thing because you can spot other Istarian dragons in the fandom. I was like, oh, that dragon, I know it. Their design originated from Istaria. And fellow Istarian dragons, they will spot me too. So Istaria was an old MMO that came out in 2003 where one of the playable races was a feral dragon. Once you became an ancient dragon in that game, the humans were no bigger than like your foot.
Oh, nice.
You could not walk into like human buildings at all because you were so huge. Your butt would like take up the entire screen, and like you would have the little human characters be screaming, "Dragons, get your butt out of the way!"
Because literally.
Through that game is sort of how I learned more about the fandom. It was 2003, and it's like I never knew that there was like an online furry community back then. But that was my first introduction because I met other people through that game that wanted to be dragons, and there was a cat race and a lizard race and other people that wanted to be animal creatures. And so that was my first introduction to other people that wanted to be a different creature.
So that attracted you more to the furry community. It took off from there. So you've been to cons. When was your first con? You kind of alluded to this back in 2007. No, that's when you had your first camera.
Yes, 2015. It was my friend Zeshire. She helped convince me to go to my first convention. I was really, really nervous. And I was like, I don't really want to go unless I got a suit, which I want to say it's completely false. You do not need to go to a furry convention and need a suit to go. So she talked me into getting my first partial made. And so I had a head and paws to go to that convention. But I was one of those people that wore a badge, no hugs, or I freak out. And so I went around the convention really, really shy, unsure what I was going to do. But I will say this. When I first pulled up at AC, after my friends picked me up and we pulled up in front of the Westin, and I saw my first fursuiter, I was like, oh my God, that's a fursuiter. Oh my God, that is so cool. And they were one of the real tall ones, like 7 feet.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it was just an amazing, surreal experience. I was like, I'm going to love this. I'm going to love this. I just knew right then and there, this is for me.
So AC was 2015 was your first con.
First furry con. And I was really shy, but it changed my life for the better. It's because I was a hermit before this. I never left for vacation. I just stayed home, and it has changed my life for the better because I actually get out now and get to see people.
So you were a crab before you were a dragon, because you said you were a hermit.
Oh, Taebyn.
I'm just saying. But no, that's cool. That's cool. And then 2017, FC 2017 was, you said you had your first camera at, I think FC 2017 was my first FC. It was, I think, my fourth con ever, but my first FC. So we both had firsts at that FC.
I think my first FC was 2016.
Okay.
Because at AC, I met one of my lifelong friends. I think you know him, Rio Gray Fox.
I do know Rio, yes.
I do know him. He is probably one of the sweetest persons I ever met. He knew I was really shy because he saw my FA journal going, and I'm super shy, no hugs. And he actually came up to me and says, Blue, I know you're really shy, so I'll keep my distance. I won't offer a hug because I know that gets you nervous. And he just, sat there and talked and just helped me open up. He got my very first hug at the convention because I felt so relaxed after meeting him.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
And he was my very first furry hug.
Nice. That's exciting. That's a very memorable event.
Oh, it was very memorable. And then FC, he just really helped introduce me to the world of FurryCon, FC 2016.
Cool. Well, I'm glad he did, because now you're amongst us, and that's wonderful. We can enjoy your wonderful photography now.
I am now officially furry trash.
Nice. That's the best way to be, right? So now that you are a big professional photographer, what is your next goal?
First off, I am not a pro. I just pretend to know what I do.
So let me amend that. Now that you are a big pretend professional photographer, what is your next goal?
I want to inject something here. A professional only means that you get paid to do something. And if you got paid even for one photograph, you're a professional.
I mean, there's scam artists too.
Well, true, but they're not professionals.
They're professional scam artists.
I mean, if they get money from it.
But I do have, my goals are, of course, just keep pushing myself, try new things every single year. And I do want to get myself a EOS R5 when it comes out, because I really do actually want to become more pro. I think with the photo shoot I did with you at FurCon this year, was my last free photo shoot that I was going to do. I was building my portfolio that I can actually show the community look at my skill. I am a skillful photographer. I would like to start doing commissioned photo shoots.
You should more benefits for what you're really good at. So yeah,
'Cause, yeah,
definitely.
camera gear is not cheap.
And yeah, see, exactly. That's another thing. It's like, well, you don't even have to feel bad about it because, well, as you say, camera gear is not cheap.
'Cause it's my biggest goal is I just want to get my rental gear covered, the costs covered.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it costs a bit of money to rent the cameras, and, if I can just take photos and get the rent covered, I'm completely happy.
Yeah. Because you're still doing what you're passionate about. So that's
Yeah.
kind of paying for itself right there. Cool.
Very much. I don't want to become a job. I want it to still be a passion, but I don't want to keep losing money on it.
It's kind of a fine line, but definitely something you want to balance for sure.
One of the things we've found when we talk to folks is everything that people do, everything that furs do, gets down to what they do for a passion. I mean, you look at what Taebyn and I are doing here in a podcast. This is a passion of ours. The videos that Taebyn does, and you're doing all the photographs. It's all a passion. And, there's nothing wrong with asking for a little bit of a fee to cover the costs, because I know it gets expensive.
It does.
Does.
It does. It's just not the cameras. It's because Photoshop's a yearly fee, the website's a yearly fee. Everything just adds up.
It's the reality of it, and that's the unfortunate part, but it helps us do what we're passionate about. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle, I guess. I don't know.
I would be 100% happy if I could just get the camera costs covered with the commissions I can get.
You do great work, so I don't think anybody would have any hesitation giving you a little bit of a fee for your work.
Which over the years, the community has been really wonderful because I do have a coffee, and the community, when I tweet the photos, I just say if you got a photo for me, I don't ask others, but if you got a photo for me, I've always asked if you like it, if you don't mind sending a tip, and the community has been very generous, and so they have helped out a lot to cover my photography expensive.
Cool.
Awesome. So is there anything else you would like to share with us or like us to know about you?
We get asked sometimes, how can I contribute to the fandom or the community? And a lot of people are really unsure how they can contribute or help out because they don't know what they can do.
Mhm.
And I think you'll agree with this, Taebyn, because
Oh.
we both do this, is volunteering at conventions.
Yeah.
It is a very rewarding experience. I volunteer at almost all the conventions I go to now. Not only that is rewarding, you get to meet a lot of new friends, and you get awesome perks from the conventions that, usually they cover your tickets. Some conventions will feed you at the con, get access to rooms sooner. But
Yeah.
the biggest thing is it's a rewarding experience knowing that you're helping out with the community.
You're really being part of that. And I mean, you're being part of it just being there, of course, but definitely just to really help out is a really rewarding experience, and knowing you're contributing specifically to the community.
For people who are shy, it really helps get themselves injected into places where they can mingle with people more too.
Well, I must say it's been an amazing time having you here. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you've got things to do and people to see and burritos to eat, so
It's been just a pleasure having you on our show.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
bye. See you later, Blue. Have a good day.
Bye now. Thanks for having me on.
Blue's a great guy. I like talking to him. He's a lot of fun.
I forget which the first con I met him at. It might have been FC 2017, actually. Might have been or maybe BLSC that year anyway. So yeah, no, he's a great guy. He's fun to talk to.
Great. Well, let's go on to our next segment.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you about a math story this week because last week you gave a very long math story and I cut it.
Yeah.
So last week people only got half the math story. So I'm going to drop in the other part of the math story for this week. So I'm just going to let the people know right now. We're going into part 2 of Taebyn's math story.
From last week.
Last week on Barely Furcasting featuring Taebyn.
Maybe in another one, I'll tell you another variation of this having to do with words and things.
And now, the conclusion.
So another rendition of Russell's paradox has to do with words. A word is called autological if it describes itself. So for example, the word pentasyllabic is an autological word. It describes itself because it has 5 syllables, pentasyllabic. So it describes itself. Or the word tiny is an autological word, right? I mean, tiny is, it's only 4 letters. It's a small word. On the other hand, on the other paw, the word heterological is a word that does not describe itself. So for example, the word monosyllabic is not heterological word. It does not describe itself. And so you can think of other examples of words like that. So the question is the word heterological a heterological word? So let's see. Let's see if I can do this. If the word heterological is a heterological word, by definition, then it's a word that does not describe itself.
Okay.
Then it is describing itself because that's what heterological means. So it cannot be a heterological word, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, heterological is not a heterological word, which means by definition, it cannot be a word that's describing itself. But we just said it's not heterological, which means it is a word describing itself. So it can't be that either.
Okay. And for anyone that's still listening, please, if you would like to describe or help describe, please join our chat.
Yeah, please do. And help this poor, fluffy pup brain along.
I think we want to have some new things come into our podcast. We're kind of growing and we're kind of getting into some other stuff. And I think next week we're going to try and talk to just some, I hate to say random furs because that make them sound like they're not important. But I want to give everybody a chance to come onto our podcast and talk to us. But that would take forever if we talk to everybody. There's a lot of furs out there and a lot of them want to talk to us. So beginning next week on the 18th of June. So if you're listening to this podcast and you want to talk to us for a while, we're going to call it 5-Minute Furs for Fun.
That's hard to say. 5-minute furs for fun. Actually, that's not too bad. 5 minutes furs for fun. Okay,
Yes.
maybe I lied. Never mind.
5-Minute Furs for Fun. So the way it's going to work is this. We record the show every Thursday evening for the coming Saturday. You and I start recording at 6:15. So between 6:30 and 6:40 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, I will post a link to the recording on the Barely Furcasting featuring Taebyn Telegram channel. The first fur to log in and pop into our show gets to be on the show.
Or
And we'll
fluffs
chat
into
with
the-
you for a while. Or fluffs into the show. I guess logging in or fluffing in. Yeah. And then we'll chat with you for a while. Once the person logs it, once the person or fur or person logs in, it could be a person. We don't know. It could be. You don't know. Then I will take the link down. So if you are interested in being on our podcast next week on June 18th, be standing by your computer.
or you could sit.
Or you could sit and be standing by your Telegram. And if you
Or
see
you
the
could sit
log,
by your Telegram. I don't know.
stand by your Telegram, sit by your Telegram, hold by your whatever it is. And we'll see how this works. It may be a flop. Who knows? But we're going to give it a shot. It's hard to do. We'll figure out a way to do it. But you'll need a computer, you'll need a microphone, preferably a headset, all in working condition so that you can log in and chat with us. So mark your calendars.
Or Barker calendars if you really prefer.
Bark your calendars. Dun dun dun. So Taebyn, are you reading any furry books right now?
Not really right now. So you might remember I mentioned, I know, a while ago that I had read some Ruckus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very, very great stuff there. And also Cairo Gold. I read a Cairo Gold book, and he's really great too.
Is it Cairo or Kyle?
Kyell.
Oh, so it's Kyle, not Cairo.
Did I say Cairo? Oh,
You
yeah,
said
no.
Cairo.
He's not in Egypt or something.
No, he's not.
So it can't be Cairo. Yeah, so I meant Kyle Gold. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
But I did start playing a game. It's called Winds of Change, created by Clace. He's on KLACE. He's on Twitter and things, and he created this wonderful furry game. It's an anthropomorphic game. It's one of those kind of story-based, choose-your-own-adventure type things. I started that. Now I've only just started it, but so far the characters are pretty cool. So far there's I think a bear and I forget. As I said, I just started, so I'm not sure, but it's a pretty popular thing.
All right. Well, of course, we end our podcast with a this or that.
This or that.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta. I don't know.
Ta-ta. So I have 4 this or that's for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First one. Summer or winter?
Got to be summer. I mean, I don't have anything against winter. I know a lot of people don't like winter for various reasons, and some do like it for various reasons. But summer is, well, it's summer, and I always feel nostalgic for some reason when I smell the summer air with my nosy and I run through without a leash and the fur is fluffing all over me. I don't know. So I'd have to say summer.
So wait a minute, you run around without a leash?
I'm naughty pup. I do. I do. But I
You're gonna
always come back home.
the next thing you're gonna tell me is you don't wear pants.
We'll just go with fluff. How's that?
Okay, you wear fluff. Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
We'll stick with that.
All right, next question.
Oh,
Ballpoint or gel?
I'd have to go gel. I find it smoother to write with my pausy, and I love the flowing, and it just feels great and nice. Sometimes ballpoint doesn't feel good when you write with it. It like vibrates sometimes when I write, and even though the fluff like absorbs the vibrations, sometimes the vibrations are so cringy that even my fluff can't stop it.
Okay, well, all right then. So gel it is. So next question.
Yes.
You get this question asked a lot at restaurants.
That's true. That is a very common question for all people at restaurants. Of course, I have to say it depends on the super salad. And it also depends on my mood. It depends on if I'm like feeling like crispy, fun, fresh, in which case I'll go salad. But if I'm feeling like a nice warm flavor, I'll usually go soup. That's a tough one. I think I'll just in general, I think I'll go salad, but that's really a tough one.
So when I was a young bear, a cub, if you will, I was at a restaurant and they asked, "Would you like soup or salad?" And I thought they asked me if I wanted a super salad.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I just want a plain salad."
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So super salad. I would love a super salad. Yes.
Super salad.
It's got a little waving lettuce leaf in the background.
I can so see it now, like a bowl of minestrone following a super salad where the cape is, that lettuce, and but it's got an entourage of I don't even know where this is going, but I like it. Okay, good.
Okay. All right. So, okay, last one. When it comes to light bulbs, do you prefer an LED or an incandescent?
Incandescent. No, that's not my answer. I was just having fun saying incandescent. It's not outcandescent.
Outcandescent.
Outcandescent. And that's really hard to say. That's why they chose the word incandescent instead of that other one, because incandescent is easier to say.
Yes. But so, which one do you prefer?
Right. Which I prefer. I think probably LED. It depends on how my fluff is glistening in the light at that particular time. Because if my fluff is glistening better in the incandescent, then I'm going to have to go incandescent. But again, if I'm going to make a general statement, I'll go with LED, which I always used to pronounce LED, but that's wrong.
They're not LED lights.
They're not LED lights, and they're not like coal lights or anything.
No.
And it's not eco light either.
That's true. Well, that kind of brings us to the end. Well, it doesn't kind of bring us to the end. It brings us to the end of our podcast.
Bring us to the end, as a matter of fact.
Yes. So we'd like to thank our guest, thank our listeners. I want to remind everybody to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And remember that the pod is available on all major podcast platforms. There is not a podcast platform that we are not on, which is actually pretty amazing.
It is, actually.
And of course, when we release, and I put the links on Twitter and Facebook and Telegram, each week I highlight a different platform, but that doesn't mean you have to use that platform. If you subscribe, obviously you will get notified when a new episode comes out, but otherwise, whatever your favorite app is, or you can listen direct on our website. So there you go. With that, I'm going to say, Taebyn, you have a great week, and we will talk to you next week.
Bark, bark next week. Have a good day. Bark, bark.
Barely Furcasting is an Injured Nerves studio production. All opinions expressed here are those of Taebyn and Barely, and neither received any commercial compensation for their opinions. The Furcast is recorded and edited by me, Barely Normal, aka Mike Began. Opening, interstitial, and closing music by Shane Ivers through silvermansound.com. Taebyn can be reached on social media at Taebyn Pup on YouTube and Twitter.